You're fired in front of everyone. The morning I lost everything. And accidentally built the life people once mocked me for. The conference room smelled like burnt coffee and tension. 22 employees sat frozen in silence, while the CEO slammed a thick folder against the glass table so hard the sound echoed across the room. Then he pointed directly at me. "You embarrassed this company," he shouted. "Do you have any idea how much damage you caused?" My hands started shaking. Every eye in the room locked onto me. Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked entertained. One person actually smirked. And then came the sentence that completely shattered my life. "Pack your things. You're done here." I wish I could say I handled it with confidence. I didn't. I walked out carrying a cardboard box while two coworkers whispered loudly behind me. Honestly, I knew he'd fail eventually. That sentence followed me all the way to the elevator. What nobody knew was that losing that job would trigger the most painful, humiliating, emotionally brutal transformation of my entire life. And 6 months later, the same people who laughed at me would stand speechless in a room they never imagined I'd own. 3 months earlier, I looked successful from the outside. Good salary, corporate title, expensive clothes, social media smiles. But behind closed doors, I was drowning. I slept 4 hours a night. I survived on instant noodles and caffeine. My blood pressure was dangerously high. And every morning before work, I sat in my car gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm panic attacks nobody knew about. One night my mother called me. "You sound tired," she said softly. "I'm fine," I lied. "No," she whispered. "You sound broken." That sentence hit harder than any insult. But I ignored it, because I believed success meant never slowing down. I thought exhaustion was proof of ambition. I thought burnout was normal. I thought sacrificing peace was the price of becoming somebody. I was wrong. The disaster happened during the company's biggest client presentation of the year. Millions of dollars were at stake. Everyone was stressed. The CEO kept pacing behind us saying things like, "If this fails, heads will roll." At 8:47 a.m., I noticed something horrifying. The financial data in the final report was wrong. Not slightly wrong. Completely catastrophic. One decimal error made projected profits appear nearly 10 times higher than reality. My stomach dropped. I immediately warned my manager. "We need to stop the meeting," I said. He stared at me coldly. "Do not create panic." "But the numbers are," I said, "handle it quietly." Then the clients arrived. And everything spiraled. Halfway through the presentation, one of the investors interrupted. "Can you explain these numbers?" Silence. The room froze. My manager looked at me. The CEO looked at me. Suddenly, the mistake belonged to me. I could literally feel people distancing themselves from me emotionally in real time. The CEO exploded. "Incompetence like this is unacceptable." Nobody defended me. Not one person. That was the moment I learned one of the hardest truths about life. Some people celebrate you when you're useful and abandon you the second protecting you becomes inconvenient. After being fired, I lost almost everything within weeks. My savings disappeared. Bills piled up. Collection calls started. One afternoon, I sat on the floor of my apartment staring at an overdue rent notice while rain pounded against the windows. I remember whispering to myself, "How did my life collapse this fast?" Then came the lowest moment. I attended a former coworker's birthday dinner hoping to reconnect. Big mistake. The second I walked into the restaurant, the energy changed. People looked awkward. One guy laughed nervously and said, "Whoa, didn't expect you to show up." Another person whispered loudly enough for me to hear, "Careful. He might bankrupt the restaurant too." Everyone laughed. Even people I once helped. I smiled weakly. But inside, I was destroyed. That night I sat alone outside the restaurant for nearly an hour staring at traffic. I genuinely questioned my worth. I questioned whether I was a failure. I questioned whether I had wasted years chasing a version of success that was never real. Then something unexpected happened. An elderly security guard walked over and sat beside me. He looked at me quietly before saying, "You know what your problem is?" I sighed. "You built your confidence on people's applause." I looked at him stunned. He continued, The moment they stopped clapping, you stopped believing in yourself. That conversation changed my life. The next morning, I made a decision. No more pretending. No more chasing approval. No more attaching my value to titles, salaries, or validation. I started rebuilding myself from zero. And it was ugly. There were days I cried from frustration. Days I got rejected repeatedly. Days I doubted everything. But I created a strict mindset routine. Wake up at 5 a.m. Exercise even when exhausted. Read for 1 hour daily. Learn new skills. Journal every failure. Replace self-pity with accountability. Slowly, my thinking changed. I stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift changed everything. One evening, while freelancing online for tiny projects, I helped a struggling small business improve their marketing strategy. Within weeks, their sales doubled. Then they referred another client, then another, and another. Within months, I accidentally built my own consulting business. The same skills nobody valued in the office suddenly became valuable in the real world. But the biggest twist came later. Much later. Almost a year after being fired, I received an invitation to an industry networking event. At first, I didn't want to go. But something inside me said, "Go." So I did. The ballroom was packed with executives, entrepreneurs, and business owners. And then I saw them. My former coworkers. My former manager. Even the CEO. The same people who watched me get humiliated. For a second, old anxiety rushed back. Then the event host stepped onto the stage. Tonight's keynote speaker, he announced, is the founder of one of the fastest-growing consulting firms in the region. My former manager looked confused. The CEO casually sipped his drink. Then the host said my name. The room went silent. I will never forget their faces. My old manager nearly dropped his glass. One coworker whispered, "No way." Another stared at me like he'd seen a ghost. As I walked toward the stage, the CEO avoided eye contact. The same man who once shouted, "You're done here," now sat silently in the audience while people applauded me. But here's the truth. The applause didn't matter anymore. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't need it. Moral lesson. Success mindset is not built when life is easy. It is built during humiliation, during rejection, during sleepless nights, during moments when nobody believes in you. Real success begins the second you stop allowing failure to define your identity. The people who laugh at your lowest moments are often shocked by what your pain eventually produces. Never let embarrassment become the ending of your story. Sometimes the worst moment of your life is actually the moment your real life begins. And sometimes, getting fired is the first step toward finally becoming the person you were supposed to be. They laughed when I lost everything. But losing everything forced me to discover the one thing nobody could ever take from me again. My mindset.